Welcome everyone, this is Kerjims channel. Now we are back to our new episodes of 2 Semi-Melodic Champions and Comparison, featured by Wild League of Legends versus the Mobile Legends by rank. But before that, please like and subscribe to my channel and don't forget to click the bell icon so you will be notified to our new next episode review. Let's do this!
You've got an infinite speed up and slow, your bombs chunk, and you've got a GA every 30 seconds. Sure, his damage falls off, but his utility scales so hard into late game. I mean, if I had a good Zilean on my support mid like Soraka or Lulu, and should be played like one. You know, be as annoying as you possibly can. First and foremost, before you play this guy, you have to get Groovy Zilean because, let's be honest, it's the best skin. Your passive heightened learning gives everyone on your team 8% increased experience because the longer you hang out with old people, the wiser you become. You know, unless they have Alzheimer's. Time Bomb is your Q. It's a bomb that you can place on any unit that'll explode after 4 seconds, dealing damage to everything around it. You wanna know how easy Zilean is? Look at this. 1 bomb. 2 bombs. And DMX just be the soundtrack of Zilean. I feel like that this should be in the recommended items list. So his Q has a 90% AP ratio and can be stacked twice when this is basically your bread and butter. It lowers all your abilities cooldowns by 10 seconds. So you walk up to this, Zilean's timer. This slow isn't as bullshit as Naz's, which is basically a stun, but it's a slow and a speed up that you can constantly cast on multiple people thanks to Rewind. If you catch out anyone, you've basically got a perma-slow on them, and they're forced to either fight you or just wait to die because you'll slow them by 55% every 2 seconds, which gives you enough time to spam your laughing taunt. Zilean's ultimate is Chrono Shift. This ult is the best ult in the entire game. I don't care what anyone says, this is fucking badass. Rewind at max rank has a 6-second cooldown, which becomes less than 3 seconds with 40% CDR. Spamming this makes your ult cooldown become 30 seconds instead of 180, so now they can't kill you in the Zilean while you get the fuck out of dodge as you pick up the kill. Zilean is a great champ at the moment, and he's just now starting to see some LCS coverage while being played in Challenger. But just like everything new, people will judge and label Zilean as an outcast, a loser, a non-meta pick because he's different. People just don't understand him, and that's what scares them the most. They're afraid of what they don't understand. But that's fine. Let them be afraid. Can I just say that Zilean is like one of my favorite champions right now? Like, he's one of my most played champions in ranked, and every game is just such a fucking blast. Like, his playstyle and mechanics are extremely versatile, but if you don't max your E second, you're fucking dead to me. But was Zilean always the old man that I would let touch my wee-wee, or was there ever a time where he was just a senile old man running naked through a McDonald's screaming that he could bend time until the police showed up and took him to prison for keystring 4 pounds of cocaine up his ass, thus ruining his own son's thoughts of his father, making him go through life beating up other kids with a popsicle? Find out on today's episode of How OP We Used to Be. Okay, so what really impresses me about Zilean is that he's one of the oldest champions in League of Legends, and yet his kit has remained virtually the same for over 7 years. I mean, like, look at fucking Sion, right? He started out as if Arnold Schwarzenegger and Adam Sandler shit out a kid, and that kid tried to play the role of a horror movie villain. And now he's actually someone who's kind of intimidating. Zilean has remained the same wacky, retarded old man, but while keeping the main points of his kits intact. Of course, there were some of his abilities being changed a little bit in some ways, because otherwise, why the fuck would I be making this video? His passive, for one, used to give 8% increased experience to everyone on your team, no matter where you were on the map. This might not seem like it's really that good, but I promise you it is. It's not just like, hey, you're behind, so you're gonna gradually catch up if you consistently farm. No. See, one of the reasons why it was actually really good was because if you were in a solo lane, you would get level 2 off of the first minion wave, right? 1 creep before them, which is actually absurdly broken for some champions. You take someone with like a massive level 2 power spike like Fizz, and you give him level 2, 1 creep early, that's crazy. And most of the champions that abuse the level 2 power spike are already inherently snowbally champions, so it makes it even worse if the enemy laner forgets for like half a second that they're going to ping level 2, 1 fatal creep earlier. It was still time bomb, except it wasn't a skill shot. It was actually a fucking click shot. Now don't worry, it didn't stun, but double bombing still existed, and since it was an instant cast click shot, it was basically no avoidance. And it also used to scale a little bit better too, so the lack of CC was really made up for in the raw damage output, right? So you just speed up to someone and instantly chunk them for like 2/3 of their HP, forcing the AD carry to go back, and there's just legit like no counterplay. Like, I guess play Sivir, but other than that, which was still Rewind, but it kinda sucked for a bit. Originally, it had a cooldown of 60 seconds at level 1, but it did cooldown itself, so technically it was 50 seconds, but that's still kinda shitty. When it did, however, get reduced to mirror his cooldowns today, it was kind of strong. He used to reduce the cooldown of your ultimate as well. This would allow you to get your ultimate down to about 25 seconds with 40% CDR, which would basically guarantee you multiple ults in a single fight. Also, for some time, it said that building cooldown reduction, like a year later or so, talking about building CDR on Zilean, and it doesn't really state when he gets the CDR back, but it's there today, so sometime between 2011 and now, he got CDR back on his W. A couple of funny things with this ability, though, is that you could actually take this ability level 1, and you could use it when there were no abilities to cool down. So let's just say you were playing an entire day of Fiddlesticks, right? To drain your camps early, and then you get stuck on mid the next game, and your muscle memory just hits control. Now you're stuck with a useless ability. And just to pour salt on your wounds, Riot would allow you to burn away your sorrows 35 mana at it, which was still time warp. When this ability first came out, it was actually pretty fucking useless. Like, borderline as useless as just taking his W. Instead of increasing or decreasing your speed by a good percentage, it increased your movement speed by 60. That's it. 60. Now you're probably thinking it must have lasted for a long time, right? Kaja used to have a pretty minor movement speed, but it lasted for a while. It only lasted for 3 seconds at level 1. And on top of that, it costed 110 mana at all ranks. You're spending 110 mana at level 1, more than a Blitzcrank hook, to give someone 3 seconds of barely better than mobility boost. It can't get any worse, right? Oh, you got your ass off. It used to not be instant cast. You could stand still to give yourself 3 seconds of 60 movement speed. Like, I feel like you could barely move farther than if you just walked. Now, it was very quickly increased to 65% over just the 60 flat, but like, come on, man. This is like 110 mana for a mobility boost for 3 seconds, and I had to stop to do it. Now, one upside of this ability is that it actually used to deal damage to enemies, and it could be casted on minions. So you could technically like last hit with it, or it was like another free click shot, but like 110 mana from fucking crap. And finally, we come to the last ability. Good old fucking Chrono Shift. Chrono Shift used to be absolutely batshit fucking insane. You know when you see those yellow glowing hourglasses around Caitlyn, you just wait a couple of seconds and you can kill her? Not with old Zilean. With old Zilean, those hourglasses would sit on her for 90 fucking seconds. With 40% CDR alone, it would be on a 72-second cooldown, so that doesn't take into account like you rewinding and shit. Which means you could have both your dumbass carries sitting on 3 GAs for an entire fight, just for shits and giggles. Try and keep up with this, it might get pretty confusing. In between every action of this upcoming hypothetical situation, there's 3 seconds of, like, fighting with life. I know, that makes absolutely no sense, but it'll make sense in a second. I promise, just bear with me. Okay, if you pre-ulted Anivia, right? So, 72 seconds ago, I ulted Anivia. Basically, my ult's up again, but she still has my ult sitting on her. She dies. So by the time she reses, my ult's up again, and I ult her again. She dies again. Then you rewind, and at the time, it was on a 6-second cooldown with 40% CDR, okay? Then, she has a GA. During that GA, you're able to rewind again. Then, she drops into her egg. That lasts 6 seconds, so halfway through that, you can rewind a 3rd time. Then, after the 3 seconds of life, before she does anything else, you can rewind again. And then, she's Zanya. 2.5 seconds. And then after her final 3 seconds of life, you would be half a second away from using a 3rd ultimate. Did you get any of that? Well, basically, in the span of 32 seconds, you could get 3 ultimates off, and Anivia would get 6 lives. Yeah? You wanna know who Zilean didn't ult? Harambe. A couple of really cool things that I want to talk about, even though they really were never actually on release Zilean, were 2 concept abilities, were Recall and Time Twister. Now, Recall was actually the original name of Rewind, but was changed for what I hope is obvious reasons, but it was also thought of to originally refresh an ally's ability. Like, what the actual fuck? Oh, fuck, dude, I whipped my Sejuani out. Yo, Zilean, hit me up with that redo, fam. Oh, shit, man, I fucking mistimed my Nocturnal, and I wasn't in range. Yo, help a friend out, dude. Like, even if it didn't refresh an ultimate ability, the last thing I want is a Vygar just smacking down a Venn diagram in the middle of the lane. The second ability, Time Twister, read this. Zilean unleashes an area of effect on enemies that hits in a single location. Every 2.5 seconds, Time Twister stuns targets for 1 second while dealing damage. It kinda sounded like it was like maybe an ultimate ability, and it kinda sounds like an Anivia ult without the slow, but then you could just put on a Rylai's, and then like every couple of seconds it does a little bit more by stunning them for a second. And like, I really wonder whether this ability would be actually good or kind of underwhelming, because like, how often do you find yourself fighting in an Anivia ult for over 2.5 seconds, right? Because like, would it stun instantly? Because if it's stunned instantly on cast, like, sign me the fuck up, that shit's busted. But if it's stunned after 2.5 seconds of it being up, like, that's actually just stupid. Like, that's trying to hit a skill shot Terrac ult on the enemy team. Like, it just kind of sounds really shitty. So from 2000 2009 until now, Zilean at his core remained the same ditzy old man. Except for the part where he became Pingu the Penguin. See, it was joked about a lot of Riot releasing Pingu the Penguin as a champ, and in a Reddit post about 6 months ago, it was discovered that Zilean is actually Pingu the Penguin. There was a post that memes about the hypothetical future of the League of Legends subreddit, and the 6th post found talks about Pingu being busted because he has an AoE stun that has an AP ratio of 1.5 on a 4-second cooldown. But if we take a look at Zilean, you can see that each bomb scales with a 0.9 ratio, right? That's a 1.8 ratio as a double bomb, which is on a 4.4 second cooldown with 45% CDR, all in an AoE stun. Zilean is... But how deep do you think Zilean was? I personally think that his ultimate was fucking retarded, and that ability alone made him stupid OP regardless of getting Moby Boots for 110 mana. You wanna see more of me when I go on my random ass YouTube hiatuses? I stream like 3 times a week. You wanna know what'd be an even better meme though? You wanna know what'd be an even better meme?